thank you so much for doing this.
Hey, my pleasure.
So you've acknowledged you're not going to be prime minister when this is over. So what does success look like for you following this campaign?
Electing as many New Democrats as possible. And I make this point because when we look at what Canadians are most proud of, the things they're most proud of, universal health care, pensions, old age security, were all things that came about because people used their power and voted for New Democrats, sent us to Ottawa, and we fought and delivered it. And most recently, we delivered dental care, pharmacare, workers' protection. So if Canadians want someone that's going to fight for them against the potential cuts being proposed by Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre, vote for New Democrats. They're going to cut, we're going to defend you.
You know, this election is shaping up to be a generational one. There's the issue of pressure from Donald Trump. And because of that, voters are looking at parties they haven't thought about before. New Democratic voters here in British Columbia are thinking about, some cases, the Liberals, some cases, the Conservatives. What do you say, especially to those who are thinking about the Liberals, for why they should vote for the NDP, who may be a third or fourth party, rather than the party that could form the government?
Well, a couple of reasons why. If you want to stop Conservatives here on Vancouver Island, New Democrats have a proven track record of beating Conservatives. So if that's your concern, vote for New Democrat. We beat Conservatives. Now, if you're thinking about the Liberals, but you're looking at Mark Carney's plan, I said potential. In fact, his plan is to cut massively. He has admitted it in his platform. It writes out billion with a B, $1 billion of cuts. And he's laid that out. He said that would be in operating budget, that would be in healthcare, in transfers to individuals and to provinces. So if you're worried about those cuts, the only way we stop those cuts is by voting for New Democrat. And the only time the Liberals do what Canadians want them to do, moving forward on the things that you care about, is if you've got enough New Democrats in Ottawa to force them to do it, to keep them honest. Those are great reasons to vote New Democrat.
The math is challenging for voters, obviously. They're voting in their one riding. They don't know what the outcome is going to be. But one of the challenges, obviously, is around a situation of a minority or a majority. So you have shown in the past you're willing to support the Liberals. Would you ever consider the Conservatives if there's a minority government situation, or in essence, people are voting New Democrats to then go support a Liberal government in a minority government situation?
I think it's a very important question. And I can say it really clearly when it comes to the Conservatives. New Democrats will never support Pierre Poilievre as Prime Minister. We will never support the Conservatives. We have shown you, though, that we can force the Liberals to deliver for people. And we did that with pharmacare, where they said no, and we forced them to deliver. Here in BC, we're going to get diabetes medication and devices because we forced them to do that. People have already received dental care, and now the final phase will come out in May because we forced the Liberals to deliver, and now everyone in our country will get dental care.
As you know, Justin Trudeau's popularity was going down quite a bit when he was Prime Minister. Do you feel that Canadians hold you, in essence, responsible for holding up a Prime Minister that was incredibly unpopular?
Well, most Canadians that I meet tell me that they are really happy that we fought and delivered the things that have benefited them. I've met with so many seniors that say, we were able to go to the dentist for the first time in so long because of the dental care you fought for. I met kids whose parents were able to get dentures and they were struggling and it was so expensive, and now they were able to get the care that they needed. Parents whose children were able to go to the dentist. So I've met people who think we did the job that we were said to do, which is to fight for people and to deliver to make life more affordable. I'm the only leader that's running right now that can actually confidently say that I fought and concretely made people's life more affordable by fighting for childcare and dental care and pharmacare, all measures that save people money. And now we're up against some serious times with the threat of Donald Trump and the cuts being proposed by both Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre. If you want someone that's going to fight for you and your family and stop those cuts, vote for a New Democrat.
Yeah, and you mentioned that time, and obviously that's having an impact on the polls. You have some really significant incumbents that have won in their seats. In Peter Julian's case, he's going for his 8th term. Do you feel a responsibility as leader to, in essence, help save some of these seats as we get into the home stretch here?
I think a lot of those folks know that they were so well represented by a New Democrat. And I want folks to really think about this. If you are worried about Conservatives, and a lot of people are, the best way to stop a Conservative is to vote for your incumbent New Democrat. That's the best way to guarantee that you can beat a Conservative and to have someone that's going to fight for you and defend what you care about.
You're obviously out across the country, but you're riding in Burnaby Central again. If we look at the polls, this is the first time that you've felt any real big pressure electorally. Are you worried about not being on the doorsteps in Burnaby Central when you're out across the country?
I'm not worried about for my own political reasons. I just miss being on the doorsteps because I actually have a great time hearing from people and knocking on those doors. It's something that I started off in politics, winning a riding that had never gone any Democrat because I knocked doors, and that's something I really love to do. So I've been doing it for my candidates, which I enjoy, but I do miss being able to do it in my ridings.
Yeah, you've been out here for a while. This is your third national campaign. If things don't go particularly well, is this going to be the end of the line for Jagmeet Singh politically? Like at what point do you make a decision that I've brought the NDP as far as I can bring them, and now it's an opportunity for somebody else to take over the party?
It's not a decision I'm making right now. Right now, I'm focused on the election in front of me, and I'm going to campaign hard for the last 8 days. And folks need to know that there is a real choice in this election. And like I said, for a lot of people that are worried about cuts, they're worried about Pierre Poilievre, New Democrats are the best choice to fight back against cuts, to defend the things that people care about. And as we mentioned, to bring down the price of groceries. We're the ones that are going to take on the corporate grocery stores that are ripping you off. On the idea of healthcare, we're the ones that are going to defend healthcare and make it better. On all the things that matter to people, that people hold really dear, we're the ones that are going to fight back and defend them.
All right, let's talk policy, because I know you want to get into it. I know the personal stuff is,
It's all
part of it, but let's
yeah.
talk policy.
Sure.
You mentioned groceries.
Yeah.
That is one of the big cost pressures that British Columbians, Canadians are feeling. What would you do to help rein in some of those cost of living pressures?
One of the things we're put forward is a price cap on food essentials. Now, this is a direct way to bring down food prices. We're seeing right now, Statistics Canada said that we've seen a 50-year record being broken for month-over-month increase in food inflation just this month. So people are really feeling that. Things are getting more expensive. And a price cap on food essentials would immediately bring down prices.
So how do you do it when there are private companies, they're grocery stores that run the gamut from multinational all the way to mom and pop owned corner stores in places like here in Victoria and across the country? So how do you put that in place and not fiddle with an open market that we have, especially for products like groceries?
Well, when it comes to certain sectors, we have price controls in place. It is something that we do with electricity, we do with energy prices, gas prices. So we have price controls in place. We have rent controls in place. So we do these type of practices. Other countries have done it, so we can learn from the way France has done it. France brought in a price cap similar to what we're proposing. Ours is a little stronger, but similar idea. They brought down food inflation by 15% by that one act. In Greece, they brought in a price control, a price cap on food prices, and they brought down food prices by 15%. So other countries have done it. We can follow their example, find ways to tweak it and make it even better. But price controls work. And when we've got corporate grocery stores that have jacked up the price of bread in the past, the price of meat, and more recently, they're jacking up the prices. We're seeing some reports of Canadian products because Canadians want to support Canadian. They're jacking up the price of Canadian products. So we can't let them on their own. We've got to fight back.
Yeah, can't the consumer, though, say, I'm not going to shop at your store if you jack up the price of bread?
Well, great point. The problem is when the price of bread, it was all the bread producers and all the corporate grocery stores colluded, basically worked together to collectively jack up the prices. So there was really no options. And I should clarify, our measures are going to target corporate grocery stores. There's really just 5 that most Canadians shop at. That's a Loblaw or a subsidiary, Metro, Sobeys, Walmart, or Costco. We're really going to target those corporate grocery stores in our measures.
The biggest cost of pressure or cost of living pressure in this province and many other places is housing.
Yep.
You know that. You feel that in your community and across BC. So what would you do specifically to work with, if it is a Liberal government or in opposition, like what measures do you want to see in place to address this crisis where I think a lot of the public is skeptical that politicians can even do anything about it, considering so many have committed to this over the last 15, 20 years, and yet still we have this tremendous pressure?
I would say really there's been a ignoring of this problem for the past couple of decades at the federal level. It's not been something that people have really made a priority. Liberals and conservatives have allowed the housing market to really be used as a stock market. It makes a lot of money for rich investors, but doesn't work for everyday families. So a couple of really concrete things we would do. We are losing more affordable homes than we're building, and that means it's a losing race. And so part of what we need to do is keep what's affordable. So we would ban corporate landlords from buying up the affordable homes. Right now, a lot of multi-billion-dollar corporations, Brookfield Investments, the former company of Mr. Carney, have trillions of dollars in terms of how deep their pockets are, and they're buying up affordable apartment buildings and single-family homes. So how would a young person, a young family compete with a company that's got billions of dollars or trillions of dollars in terms of how deep their pockets are? That's not a fair competition. We would ban them from buying affordable homes. They can build new homes, they can build apartments, go for it, but they can't buy the affordable stuff.
One of the pressure points here, and many other places, we just don't have the people to build the homes.
Yep.
One suggestion that the province has made is around the provinces getting more money from Ottawa around immigration. So if BC takes on 25% of immigration, it gets 25% of the housing supports to help fund schools, hospitals, help building. There are other suggestions around targeting who can come into this country. How do you work to ensure that there are enough people to build the things we need to keep up with the pressures that we're feeling in BC and in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, the corporate ban on those landlords is just one piece of it. We do need to train more workers. We have a plan to create 100,000 more workers in the sector of construction. That's going to involve training, but also immigration, targeting workers that have construction experience. We need to build cooperative homes, not-for-profit homes. We need to build purpose-built rental. We need a wide variety of homes. The Conservatives are saying basically private building will fix it all. That's failed. That's not going to work. And the Liberals aren't emphasizing enough of how we can keep it affordable. One of our differences is that we think that with the federal land that we own, which is homes in or land in every community across the country, we want to use all of that land to build entirely affordable homes. The Liberals and Conservatives' plans both include selling off that land to a developer and building mostly homes people can't afford. I want to keep that land public and use it for public good and to build homes on it that are entirely affordable.
One of the challenges we face as we continue the conversation now is around growing our economy. There's a lot been made in this campaign around pipelines and getting resources to market. There's been a shift in Canadian thinking largely about how we get our products to market. Has your thinking changed at all around pipelines, but also around getting our resources out and across the world?
My priority when it comes to what we could do as a nation for a nation building project where we invest in infrastructure is an east-west electrical grid. This would lower the cost of energy. This would connect low cost, affordable, and low polluting, clean energy sources, hydroelectric energy from BC to Manitoba to Quebec, with the provinces that have surpluses we could sell within our country and build a more vibrant and lower cost electricity grid where we can support industry and technology of the future. That's where I see the future of our country, building a project of that nature. That's something I've long been calling for.
Do you acknowledge, though, the public mindset is changing on this because of that fear of Trump in the United States? The people want an energy dependence here. And are you worried at all about the impact financially to this country about leaving products like the oil sands in the ground?
Well, I mean, I favor an electrical grid, east-west electrical grid as my priority. But when it comes to any energy project, and there's projects that we need to move forward with, critical minerals are going to be essential for our country. Other projects are fundamental. For any project, energy or otherwise, I've got a number of criteria. If they're satisfied, it will be a project that would be open to supporting. That's making sure it's good for the environment, that we are getting local buy-in, that it's going to create good jobs in the community, and that Indigenous communities are partners and share the prosperity.
This province has led the way largely around environmental policies for a long time. The shift is changing, but do you believe we're better off as a country when it comes to our climate goals and the environment now than we were 10 years ago?
I think there's provinces that are showing a lot of promise, and BC has got one of the best, if not the best, environmental plans and has made investments in renewable energy and has really shown the way forward. We can do more of that as a country. We have incredible capacity. The energy of the future is absolutely renewable. We need to be investing in that direction so that we can make sure our country is strong and robust.
The illicit drug crisis, the epicenter is here in this province. You know that well. Pierre Poilievre is making a number of suggestions now that would close consumption sites, stop programs the province has run around supplying drugs. What is your suggestion around how we can address the ongoing crisis that sees nearly 7 British Columbians die every day?
Compassion and evidence. It's heartbreaking that people in communities know someone they love or know someone that is close to them that has lost their life, that has died to this opioid crisis. It is heartbreaking, the loss of human life. And we know we've got to save these lives. So my first approach is we got to treat this crisis with compassion. People are dying, we got to save their lives. So do whatever it takes to save their lives and follow the best evidence, the best practices. What are the practices that keep people alive and save lives? And the second thing I would do in addition to that is we've got to get this toxic stuff off our streets. Pierre Poilievre's talking about what to do after the fact that we've had these horrible things happen. What do you do after the fact that a crime is going to be committed? I want to prevent those crimes from happening in the first place. And the way we do that is by protecting our borders.
Yeah, and is there a will, do you believe? Like, we've had pressure here in this province. Governments tried things, scaled back decriminalization. They tried regulated drug supply, they scaled it back. Is there a will in this country to actually address the roots of these issues?
I mean, I would think we need to. Ultimately, I've met with a group called Moms Stop the Harm. These are moms that have lost their children. Their children literally have died. And they're saying, we would give everything to have our kids back. Whatever it takes to keep someone alive is the only way then we can give them a fighting chance to beat the addiction if that's what they have, or to get them the mental health supports they need, or to get them off the streets and into housing. So we got to keep people alive. We've got to look at what countries have shown some success in this and use those policies here in our country. We got to get those toxic drugs off the streets. And so better investments in our border security to prevent the drugs from coming in, and also the ingredients that are often used to make the drugs in our country. We got to stop that from coming in the first place. We got to save lives. We got to treat people with compassion, and New Democrats are committed to that.
Just philosophically, what do you say to voters who ask you how they can trust you're going to get things done when you may be in a position of, as you expect, in opposition?
Well, we were able to get things done in the last minority government in a massive way. We campaigned in 2019, I remember for the first time campaigning on dental care and pharmacare, and now it's 2025 and we delivered. I think about this young boy that I met actually when I first became leader. He came to my office when we were still at the center block, 10 years old with his dad, and he said, I got type 1 diabetes, I've been born with it, incurable disease, I got to take these injections and medication. And I'm like, well, that's a big deal. And he's like, oh, nothing to worry about. I'm like, oh, you're not worried? He's like, I am worried about something, not about my medication, not about this incurable disease. I'm worried that I'm a burden on my dad, on my mom. And he looked over at his dad. I'm worried I'm a burden on them. Like, this 10-year-old kid living with an incurable disease feels like he's a burden. And I promised him, I said, I'm going to fight like hell to make sure you don't feel like a burden anymore. Promise made, promise delivered. Diabetes medication is now covered in our country.
So here's the big question I think everybody wants to know. Stanley Cup playoffs are underway. There are 5 Canadian teams.
Yes.
The Vancouver Canucks, not one of them in the playoffs.
Sadly.
Who are you cheering for?
Any Canadian team. We want a Canadian team to win this. Let's go.
So what do you like? What are you going to watch? Like it's hard. I know it's hard to pick because you're looking for votes everywhere.
I
but
know, right?
but is there, if you've got to put a jersey on, are you refusing to put one on, or would you put one on if they made you? You had a Habs jersey on.
I would represent everybody. I represent. I mean, I was born in Toronto, so maybe some would say that I got some. I got some legitimacy if I say being born in Toronto, I support Toronto. But I back any Canadian team. Let's go. Let's
All
go
right,
Canada.
It's going to be fun to watch. I'm an Ottawa Senators fan.
Okay.
I grew up there, so I will be cheering for them. But it is fun to see if the Canucks aren't in it. You can cheer for other Canadian teams.
There you go.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks
I appreciate
so much,
it.
man. My pleasure.